Welcome to the Yonkers Voice. Today, a very special guest joins us. You're going to want to watch this interview. We're joined today for the first time by Liam McLaughlin, City Council President for Yonkers. Folks, you're not going to want to go anywhere. We have some real good information we're going to talk about. Joining us right now, Liam McLaughlin. Liam.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is our first time having you on camera, Liam. We're very excited. Thanks for getting on with the people of Yonkers. We wanted to ask you a couple questions. We know that you're going back in for another term here. You've been serving. Just for those of you that you don't know, Liam's been around the block. You've been on the council since 2000.
On and off. I served for 10 years as a council person for the 4th District, and then was off for 4 years due to term limits, and then came back as council president 4 years ago.
Has a background at Ernst & Young, so you're a CPA,
Yep.
and a lawyer.
Yes.
I don't know if you're qualified for the position.
I'm good at taking tests.
Couple questions. Mike Spano's terming out. I'm only shocked that Liam, you're not giving up the position to go, full stroke at the mayor's position. What's your?
Well, I'd like to stay where I am for now. Who knows what the future holds? I mean, obviously the mayor's termed out. It's certainly something that I would consider running for mayor. But right now I'm really looking at trying to do the best job that I can as city council president.
Good. I see you around all the time. The Yonkers Voice makes a lot of different events everywhere in the city. Where do you find time to put yourself, in every place? Be a dad, be a lawyer, be the city council president. How is it that you're placing yourself? Do you have clones or?
I have a very understanding wife, for one. And a family who supports me. So that's probably the biggest part of it. There's a lot of stuff to do around the city of Yonkers, and there's a lot of great things. At times it's hectic making all of the events, but once you get there, they're fantastic events, and the people are great. So that makes it easier. The toughest part of it is, of course, I love coaching my son. I was his baseball coach, his basketball coach, his soccer coach. And now at best I can be an assistant to the coaches because my schedule just doesn't allow for it. But I try to make as many games as possible, and we get out and practice when we can. But they also enjoy it. My wife, my son, my family. My son pushes my wife and pushes my mother and other friends to go door to door. He wants to go campaign. So
that's neat. So we have a little McLaughlin getting up and joining you soon, I'm sure.
Maybe.
I don't see it much on television, but I know that the residents and the people of Yonkers have some questions. The city has recently been working to crack down on litter. The Yonkers Voice just responded before we came here today to a call to its 3rd rat infestation. Very big deal. It was on the corner of Elliott and Post, but they've had problems in Getty Square, St. Casimir's. What are some of the initiatives you're taking, and what have you accomplished with it so far?
Well, one of the things, and it's a small thing, but it's a big thing, is we started this anti-littering campaign. It's our Yonkers, let's keep it clean type of initiative. We started doing little things like just putting messages out there on garbage cans to get a lot. Primarily, it was really geared toward young people. Get them thinking about, I'm not going to throw the potato chip wrapper in the street, I'm going to throw it in a garbage can. We then moved from that to a program, a contest, an anti-littering campaign contest where kids were in the public schools, in both the public schools and the private schools, to get the kids thinking about different slogans, different promotional ideas to stop litter, to reduce, reuse, recycle. We think it's one of those things where when you start with the kids, that will catch on.
Are some of the initiatives actually in the schools right now? You're putting them in there?
We did a whole program through the board, and we awarded. We had a contest. We had poster boards and videos. A couple of the older kids did videos, which were phenomenal. They were so talented, and to see how much thought and energy they put into all of this was just amazing.
It's funny you would bring up Yonkers schools because I noticed that you've been doing a lot with the Yonkers schools.
Trying to do as much as possible.
Many of the Yonkers public schools are crumbling at the median age is 75 years, I think.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what schools.
Where do you stand on the rebuild of the Yonkers Schools initiative?
Can I just hit one point that I missed in the last one? I'll
Sure.
try that in just a second,
Yeah.
because that's a very important subject. What we're also doing, though, is we're in the process of passing legislation to have what we're calling trash cams. So these would be cameras that can be placed around the city, to your point about certain areas where there's a lot of dumping going on, that we'll have cameras that we can place around the city so we can start observing the vehicles. Typically, a lot of times it's vehicles that are dumping. The mayor had an initiative where they tracked down someone who dumped a truck full of garbage in Chicken Island. Well, now we're going to go
Right.
after with movable cameras so that we can move in different places and track these vehicles down and ticket the vehicle owners, who then will hopefully go after the people that are doing this. So we really want to crack down.
That's not the Veritas. The Veritas is.
That's a whole.
That's a whole other. Okay, because I was going to ask you about that.
And everything today,
But
But back to the crumbling schools, if we will.
yeah.
So, an important initiative, the Rebuild Yonkers Schools, started by Mayor Mike Spano and with the support of the City Council and, of course, our Board of Education, our Superintendent, Dr. Casada, the Board of Trustees. We've got a great Board of Trustees. We've got a great Superintendent. They're doing amazing work in schools that are, in many cases, falling apart. I used to work in the city's Corporation Council office, so I was one of the attorneys for the city and could see all the different problems that were going on in our school because of the age of some of the schools. We have some of the oldest schools in the state. The state is finally, it seems, is recognizing this because one of the issues that we've had is that we did not get funded to the extent of the other big schools.
But you mentioned Mike Spano and his initiatives, and you have a mostly Republican council, do you?
Correct.
And you're working in a bipartisan way. Is that costing you your support in the conservative, with the Conservative Party? I mean, I think 800 votes of the Conservatives at one point, accounted for your last election, something along those lines. And because of the bipartisanship and your ability to actually reach across the table, do you think that might be hurting your base?
I don't think so. I'm still a conservative at heart, but we have a Republican majority on the city council. We've got 3 Democrats also on the city council. We do try to really work together in a bipartisan way. There's some issues we just can't agree on and we're too far apart to be able to come together. But between the council and the mayor's office, we truly have been able to compromise where necessary, but in a way that I don't think we've ever compromised, some of our core values. So, the conservatives would be primarily concerned about staying within the tax cap and things like that, trying to keep the taxes low. Certain other issues that I think, that they would be fully supportive of the way the Republican majority has acted. But we're also trying to act in a way to move the city forward. We have a Republican mayor, we've got a Democratic mayor, we've got a Republican majority in the city council. We've got to work together. If we don't work together, the city fails.
Right.
So we're not going to let that happen.
That makes sense. The city was actually faced with some difficult choices years ago when it was revealed that the Board of Ed had a $55 million accounting error. That's a lot of money.
That's a heck of an accounting error.
That's a huge error. What did you do to get us to where we are today?
Well, that came in literally 2 weeks after I took office. So
Right.
that was my welcome to being city council president, was a kick in the gut with a $55 million mistake. I remember when I got the call from the mayor, I nearly lost my breath. I couldn't believe this. It was potentially something that could have devastated our school system. And what we did was, again, we really did work together in a bipartisan way in this. And in this instance, it wasn't just with the council and the mayor's office. It was with our Board of Education, our trustees, and our state delegation. We have a Republican Senate, a Democratic-led assembly, a Democratic governor. We all really had to come together to formulate something that would allow Yonkers to get through this problem. And we did. We came up with the Deficit Act, which allowed for the melding of certain things. Part of the problem was, and people really couldn't believe this. So as a CPA, I'm the head of the city's budget committee. But for many years, the Board of Education would come in at the very last minute and hand us their part of the budget, which was 50% of the city's budget. It wasn't in the same format as the city. There was no continuity between the Board of Education and the city. It was really very separate, despite the fact that the city funds them. We also had to, at certain points, sue to get information from the Board of Education. So now, because of this problem that took place, if there was a silver lining, was the fact that now there's much more free flow of information. We've combined the legal departments, the finance departments, the human resources, communications, so that now the city has a much greater understanding, the municipal side has a much greater understanding of the finances and what's going on at the Board of Education. And in this way, can hopefully make sure that type of error never happens again.
See, okay, so lastly, I'm going to ask you a question, and it may not be my last question,
Okay.
depending on how you answer this question, but I'm hearing about Project Veritas
Okay.
videos, and that uncover child abuse cover-up in the Yonkers Public Schools. Again, we go back to your involvement, very heavy with the Yonkers Public Schools, but tell me about this project. Is this...
You know, this was a very kind of unusual thing. It hit all of us, I think, very hard. It was, and for those who are familiar, this Project Veritas, and I will state from the beginning, it was a setup video. Someone basically went into the Yonkers Federation of Teachers headquarters, posing as a teacher who was talking about child abuse and was counseling them how to get around a child abuse allegation. And the president of the YFT and the vice president began counseling him on how to cover it up. Not only how to cover up the actual child abuse and the use of racial slurs, which, it didn't take place, but it was a hypothetical that this person posed as a real situation, and they were caught on camera telling him how to cover it up. It was disgraceful and so frightening as a parent, you know, to think that teachers would actually do that. Now, the teachers in the Yonkers Public Schools, I have the utmost respect for. They are amazing people. I am friendly with so many of them, and they do such an amazing job. Anytime we go to Board of Education events, they love their kids. I mean, there is no doubt about it. It's not that they like their kids or this is their job. They love their kids. But the leadership of the YFT very clearly were counseling this guy on how to cover up and alleged child abuse. And that we had to draw the line on. We said, I called for the resignation of the president of the YFT,
right,
and the vice president. And to me, they had to go in that instance. And ultimately, at least the president is gone, and I think the YFT is better off for that. Again, the teachers are great. They work so hard. They love their kids, and I'm sure that 99.99% of them would never ever entertain what was discussed there, but the fact that was discussed was just disgraceful.
You mentioned when you took office, 2 weeks in, this $55 million episode, debacle happens. I'm sure you had visions 4 years ago when you took office. Are you where you thought you would be 4 years ago today?
I'd like to say yes. Look, you always have visions of this utopian society where everything is perfect. Very difficult to actually bring that to fruition. There's a lot of challenges we face. Yonkers is a big city. But I've worked with a lot of different councils. I have to say, this council has really worked together in a big way. And not just the Republican side, but Republicans and Democrats working together to really try to get issues moving forward, whether, when I talk frequently with the minority leader, I talk with the majority leader, and we agree overwhelmingly on the vast majority of things. Obviously, the council has a great relationship with the mayor, and that all helps. That type of stuff, I've been on councils when they're fighting with mayors, and you're at a stalemate. Things don't get done. Unfortunately, there's too much politics that enters into the picture. And right now, I don't see that happening, and that's why I think we're getting a lot of the economic development that we have going on, which is so important, putting people to work, creating jobs, creating a buzz around our city. You go to a lot of different places, and they're talking about various aspects of the city of Yonkers, whether it's the daylighting of the Sawmill River in downtown Yonkers, or Yonkers Brewery, or different things that people are saying, hey, your waterfront is really booming. And that was something that has taken us a while to get to, but that was a part of my initial vision, working with then Mayor John Spencer when I first ran for office. I was from the east side of town, but saw this beautiful waterfront that was completely underutilized, and said we need to do something here. And it's taken a while.
It's really developing.
But we're getting there.
It's developing very nicely.
And there's people coming from all over now to come and live in Yonkers.
McLaughlin, city president, hopeful to get reelected. I guess we're not going to really touch too much base on whether or not you're going to move forward in the mayoral race coming up.
One step at a time.
And a dad, a coach, has been very involved in the schools. Good luck to you. We'll be following you on the campaign.
Thank you.
And on the trail. You should send us an invite to the Yonkers Voice Central.
Okay.
If there's any events that we should be at.
Okay. Okay.
Lastly, I just, I want you to look at the camera. You're talking to the people who are actually voting for Liam McLaughlin or Mike Cater or whoever. What do you have to say to your audience?
I would say, Liam McLaughlin, I'm running for re-election. I'm hoping for your vote. I've tried over the past 3 years to do great things for the city of Yonkers, work in a real bipartisan way with our mayor, with my colleagues on the city council to bring good jobs, economic development to our city, to keep taxes down, to try to improve our school district and overall improve the entire city of Yonkers, whether it's our streets, our parks, etc. And I hope I can win your vote on election day.
I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, our first time with Liam on camera with the Yonkers Voice, and we're looking forward to more interviews with you, Liam. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you
And we'll see you on the campaign trail.
My pleasure.
All right. Thanks again for joining us today, guys. We look forward to hearing your feedback. Liam will be on Yonkers Voice Central. He will be interacting, I'm sure. And always be nice, no matter what your opinions are. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.